I've got quite a simple good point. It's just one that's allows us to do the classic move and just glaze really great players. So because the year began with just Spirit, Vitality came along, and if you remember, at the beginning of the year when the G2 roster was scoffed as fuck when they lost Nico, m0NESY himself was actually having some dodgy tournaments at the beginning. He was having some games where like, something going on. That's why, by the way, unfortunately, much like Device himself when he had that thing where whatever went on in Sweden with his partner, everyone heard that rumour of like, oh, his girlfriend broke up with him late last year and that's like wrecked it. But did say whether or not that is actually a correlation, the timing was a bit suspicious because that's exactly the time when m0NESY inexplicably like regressed 2 years in his play. If you go and look at the stats now, if you go and watch tournaments now, boys, that amazing number one player race of last year is just on again. It's the exact same three players. They're all there again. They're all cooking. Like ZywOo, donk, and m0NESY are all themselves contender for best player in each tournament, best player in the world. And the best part is as well, by the way, just like last year, they're all three on contender teams again. Now that Falcons is actually powered up, they're all on teams that, in theory, this is my favourite part, because I don't think we've ever had this in history. If you go back to past years, most times one of the contenders, it would be his team that would hold him back. In theory, all three of these guys' teams can put them in position, the semis and the finals, where they can do the rest. And if they really are the best player, it gives you a chance to win. So the reason I love that, essentially, the real world number one race is back on, because I like the race to be decided by the player, not by the team. And, you know, essentially, I don't like the idea, even though it didn't happen, I don't like the idea that if Zipnix plays way better than Edward, then like Device is better than Simple. It's like, I don't even know what that means. That equation doesn't even make sense in my brain. But that is how we judge CS in the past years, I'm afraid. So I think it's awesome that in theory, all three of these guys, if they just play the absolute best yet, they can all be number one again now. I know it's a little bit, m0NESY's got a little bit to catch up, but I'll tell you what, he's been fucking catch up the last month and a half or so. So what do you think, King T? The race is on. It's back on.
Yeah, 100%. I tweeted about this after I think I watched an absolute corker of a series from him at Blast Rivals, and I was just like, yeah, we're actually cooking again. This isn't a dead year for m0NESY. And look, when you go back and check the numbers, you realize realistically his year is tainted by a really rough Katowice, and that's about it. Every other event, he's putting up his pretty standard numbers that you've come to expect from m0NESY, near enough a 1.3 rating, 0.8 KPR, all the juicy numbers we love. So no, it is definitely back on, but you're right, he does have a bit of catching up to do. Thankfully, he's that kind of guy who will eventually make that case real, because he's going to be so electric on stage. He's going to win clutches. He's going to have highlight moments that really just stick in your head. He's one of those players who just have that sort of aura. Like, I remember a m0NESY clutch. Hell, I remember entire m0NESY maps. He can have that sort of effect, that lingering presence in the way he plays and in the way he dominates a map that, yeah, he will be in that contention at the end of the year. Now, will he have as sparkling of a consistency as a player like ZywOo will? No. And I don't think he'll have even the fragging numbers that will compare with Donk's, just because if you've looked into Donk's fragging numbers, on the surface, they're bonkers. When you go beneath the surface, you dig a little bit, even just a tad, you find out they're genuinely unbelievable. So he's not going to be able to contend with them in that sense, but he will, just through sheer miracle working, return into that conversation. It won't be as convincing statistically, but trust me, people like me will make that argument. We'll show you the highlights. We'll break it down. Okay. He's going to make some impossible rounds happen over and over again, like win Falcons big series, win Falcons big titles, and that'll be the case for him by the end of the year.
By the way, shout out, just briefly, shout out to ZywOo fans, because you guys make us look like geniuses, that we get to have the hot take, like, m0NESY could be the best player. They think that's, like, not even on the table in these conversations. I don't know why you guys are so fucking predictable is nuts, because you just look stupid then, mate. What you should do if you were smart, this is where you're not smart, for fuck's sake. You want m0NESY and Donk to be insanely generationally good, because then if ZywOo's better than them, that makes him even greater, you dumb fox. If they're all just secretly frauds and washed, then it doesn't count for anything, does it? You're just beating nobody. Think it through, you dumb fuck. It's why the dumbest angle of all time, I've always said it, is why the Messi fans say Ronaldo sucks and why the Ronaldo fans. You idiot! You want the rival to be the best player ever, so that your player is the best player ever. So it's like the 1A, 1B. So now that's the best part. And in my opinion, that's the dumbest part about, you know, when people do that thing, because you know Nero gets it every time now about fucking m0NESY. The dumbest thing is, last year was the best race of all time for number one, because it really was like 1A, 1B, 1C. Like, you just essentially pick what your criteria is. Like, I think that's fucking sick. It's just fucking dope to have that.
Personally, I love this conversation, and I love that they are in positions where they can all fight for it, because they all just fit the different archetypes of players. I love that the discussion has to go beyond the numbers.
Oh, it is like a short anime or something, isn't it? Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's not like we're getting two really aggressive oppers or something like that. And like every now and then you see this completely pleb thread about like, oh, donk is abusing entry fragging or something like that. Like it boosts your rating or something ridiculous. It's just so bogus. And I think like combating the well-roundedness of ZywOo, the op brilliance of m0NESY, and that just micro mastery of donk is just a joy. Like it's cool that they all have different strengths. They barely have any weaknesses really, but it's just kind of how they fit onto their team. And I hope I hope that the community doesn't just say ZywOo most MVPs equal best, though, which I feel like people are so lazily going to do so frequently. But because in my eyes, yes, I do think that they're on teams that have put themselves in winning positions, but I have a slight inkling of a feeling that this is a withering spirit. It just doesn't seem like they're making the leaps that they need to in order to push themselves into the conversation with Falcons and with Vitality. But who knows if the second half of the season can change something up. But I'm sure we'll talk more about what they could do at another time.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.